Hey, welcome back. You'll notice this channel now has a name, Iron Horse Reviews. I flirted with a couple different names. I flirted on doing Brio only or G scale only and so many guys like HO, including me, and it's just, I like a lot of different scales of trains and I do rail fanning and other stuff, and I just needed a name that was kind of all encompassing. So this is now Iron Horse Reviews. So welcome, instead of just my name, but I'm your host. I'm Mark. Today we're reviewing this LGB passenger train set. This is an American style passenger train set from LGB. And I would like to, before we get into the actual video, I'd just like to point out most of the footage, all of the footage for this video actually, except for this voiceover part right here, I recorded about 2 years ago. I have a backlog of video reviews I need to do, unfortunately, but a lot of life happened right around this time. My father passed, etc. So, sometimes you're just not in the mood to tackle some of these things, but new projects can just be really hard to start, and this channel was still fairly new at that point. So, anyway, the G Skill reviews are going to come out weekly from this point on. There's going to be a lot of HO reviews, and for whatever reason, Brio's just kind of my bread and butter, so I'm going to keep doing the Brio. I appreciate everyone watching this, and congratulations on watching what has to be the only model railroading channel on YouTube with a primarily female audience. I am not making that up. Here's a stat to prove that. So, male, female, 5 years old, 90 years old, I appreciate all of you. Thank you for sticking with me, and reviews are going to be a very regular thing in 2025. All right, once you get the box open, here are the contents. Got the stands. I'll have to look that up. I apologize, I've forgotten, but it's kind of a American interpretation of that. LGB's been making those for like 60-some years. Reliable as heck, at least that's what I'm told, so that'll be fun. We got it's our first passenger car to the right. There's a little number 1 and a number 2. You can see that. And that's kind of a carryover from their European models. I can't think of an American model where I've seen that, but the 1 is first class, the 2 is second class. And there's second class there. I imagine it's those number spots already there on the molds, so they kind of carried over. That's what I'm guessing is going on. And if I'm wrong, don't get me wrong, American trains do have first class, but I just don't remember seeing them numbered that way. There's the throttle control. There's our circle of track, some wires, and that is the contents of the box. All right, we're gonna take these out from the back of the train forward. There we go. Take this over to our very, very temporary circle of track. You can see it's gonna have a plastic sheet over it, just to kind of protect it from the styrofoam. Who knows how long it's sitting in the box and all that. And there's no scuff marks or anything like that from the styrofoam on the roof, which that's an issue I had with Pico, and we'll do that in a future review. But yeah, it's nice to see it came out real nice. All right. Got this on the track, and my initial impressions are that this is really pretty nice. And this isn't my first LGB product. Actually, you can see the box over there. But it just, the plastic feels really solid. It looks nice. I don't want to break anything. I don't think the windows open. I believe the doors do, though. I believe the doors open. I'll have to double check on that, because I don't want to force anything, because that would be a real bummer if I broke something. But I'm pretty sure yeah, those doors definitely open. So take a little closer look at that in a few minutes. Let me get the next car on the track. All right, here's our next car. Exactly the same process as the first. The only thing really different about the cars are the number stickers. And I really don't know what's traditional. Maybe someone could tell me. I would assume first class might be at the front of the train. I really don't know. So, and if you're new to G-scale, this type of coupler is called a hook and loop coupler. You only see that in G-scale. Get a little more light here. So you can see that is a hook, and it fits into the other side, which is just a loop. And they snap together. They're quite reliable. They don't look realistic, unfortunately, but they are quite reliable. Long trains can stay coupled together very well with those types of couplers. One thing unique to LGB, let's see, this side has both the hook and the loop, and then the other side just has a loop. On other brands I've encountered that use hook and loop couplers, and most all of them do, there are exceptions, we'll talk about that in another video. But LGB is the only one I've encountered that only does the hook on one side and has loops on both sides. The other brands, Pico, the lower end USA trains, they all seem to have the hook and the loop on both sides. It's not really necessary to have the hook on both sides, so I guess that's why LGB doesn't bother with it. Just a theory. And they fit together quite easily. At the loop side there, right? There you go. I'm doing this one-handed, so maybe I banged that a little harder, but these also absorb some impact, so that's nice. So, all right, so they are coupled, and the locomotive will have the same type of coupler, and then we can see about getting this thing going. Everyone always likes to see the locomotive come out. That's probably the most exciting part of the train, right? So I'll try to do this my best one-handed without hopefully damaging anything on the engine. Let's see here. And I already knocked something loose, of course. I gotta do this with two hands, guys. Apologies for that. Let's take it on over. Hopefully I didn't break anything. Alright, same plastic shroud as before. And it's not. I felt something move up here, but maybe that was just my finger slipping on the plastic. Okay, that's good news. I didn't break anything. Yay. So these things are reasonably durable. They are designed to run outside, of course, but depending on, I think this is what I knocked off. And that just fits right back in there. I will mess with that off camera. That's the part I knocked off. It just fits right back in there, but I need two hands and better light to do that. So, but no big deal. And there's the loop coupler. I don't see an engineer in there. He might be in the box. Of course, this is my first LGB starter set. Maybe it'll come with enough. Okay, there we go. That is on the tracks. That nice LGB graphic, and then right there, Lake George and Boulder, which of course the missions have LGB. Very clever, right? Okay. All linked up, and I have, you can see it right there on top of that pile, I have a passenger car that matches this set, and I will review that in a separate video. For right now we're just doing the starter set. camera, I will do the wiring and stuff. It's very simple. I'll explain it. If you're new to G-Scale, don't worry. I'll explain it when I come back, but I do need to answer that. Okay, so if you're new to G-Scale, this could not be more simpler. You get a cord here that goes to the transformer, but it's very simple. So there's a long end and a short end, and the long end obviously goes to the far end of the railroad track, and it just kind of clips on, and you screw it tight. It's very simple, and these wires are already attached, so it's very simple. I think G-Scale, most of the G-Scale manufacturers have a system very similar to this. I think Pico was the last to adopt this kind of system, and it works very well. I'm very happy with it. Now, the other two end of those wires, the red wire connects into the red, and the blue wire connects into the blue. So they also made that very simple, and that's the plug that goes down to the power. And they still make these in their red, which honestly looks dated, but it works very well. They've been using them forever. The little clear things on the bottom are kind of rubber, plasticky rubber feet, so it doesn't really want to go anywhere, which is nice as long as you have it on a smooth surface. There we go. Let's get the. So yeah, it doesn't really want to slide around or anything thanks to those rubber feet. So now for the big moment. Ready? Here we go. Success. Oh, that looks nice. Let's pick up the speed a little bit here. So again, if you're new to G-Scale, this is what's called a DC layout, and that stands for direct current. You just have the throttle, the control here to a wire to the track, and you turn the thing and it goes. And that's about, for many years, that's how all model railroads and all gauges worked. And relatively recently, not like yesterday or anything, but in the last 10-15 years or so, something called DCC has gained popularity. And that stands for digital command control. Totally different than direct current, but it stands for digital command control. And with the addition of some electronics, I won't pretend to know exactly how it works, but I'll explain it in the most basic of terms, which is how it was explained to me. So you add a different transformer and a couple other things, and I do have a DCC system for that's the Pico brand. But you add all that, and your locomotive also needs a special card inside to receive DCC information. And what actually happens is the DCC will send out a signal in I guess in binary, just a series of little over the electricity in the rails, and your locomotive card reads that, and you can do a lot of different things. You can control lights individually. You can put multiple trains on the same track and not have to worry about crashes or anything, because you can set them all for the same speed. There's a lot of now you can use it to flip switches and stuff, where before that was all much more hardwired and you had a manual switch somewhere. So it allows for a lot of fun options. Reversing loop is the one that really surprised me, and maybe we'll do a video on that sometime soon. But this is a circle, and all the electricity is flowing the same way because it's DCC. But imagine there was a piece of straight track coming out there, and the train could come along, go around the circle, and then go back out via switch on going the other direction on that straight track. So it's almost like it makes a U-turn back onto itself. And if you think about how electricity works, that's shouldn't be possible to cause a short circuit, but with a DCC system, it is possible. So that's really quite exciting. But that's just a little introduction to G-scale and DCC, and other gauges have DCC as well. And it's a little complicated. It took me a while to wrap my head around how exactly it works, and it's very interesting though. And my dad was an engineer. He understood all that right away, and I'm like, wait, what? So, and there's not. I don't feel like the literature out there always makes it really clear. At least not when I was looking around. And there's some YouTubers that explained it, some better than others, and I'm not knocking anyone, but I'll try to make a very straightforward, easy to understand, simple video about DCC. So you'll notice in the cab of the locomotive when it comes by here, don't have an engineer, and I'm not sure why that is. I didn't see anything in the box. So maybe LGB locomotives just don't come with an engineer. That's certainly very possible. This is my first LGB locomotive. So I'm not sure what to make of that. I kind of went through all the packaging and stuff, and I just didn't see an engineer. Maybe it just got forgotten. So I'll send an email or ask a question online, and if it's just something I have to buy separately, so be it. But I kind of thought it would have an engineer. I think maybe I'd like to put some lights in these cars and some people. And that's another fun thing you can do. These can be opened up, and you can install a system for lights, and of course with all kinds of accessories and stuff. And you get some people that are sitting, you put them in there, so you got some passengers. And I think that would be. This is a sharp set. I really like it. It's not something I think I'd run on the layout all the time, but just sit around and be in the background and stuff. So I think this is a fun set. So most people start their, I guess with any gauge, but certainly G-scale, most people start with the starter set. This is the LGB American passenger set. Lake George and Boulder, which I am a little dense. It wasn't right away that I picked up on Lake George and Boulder is LGB. Like Lake George, isn't that in Utah? And I'm like, no, that's St. George. I'm like, oh, but Boulder's in Colorado. So like, for all I know, there is a Lake George in Colorado, but I don't think so. I think it's just something very, very clever that LGB did. And if you look, I'll wait till the next pass. When you turn up the current, when you turn up the throttle higher, let's slow it down for just a second. See that front light dims a little bit. But if you pick up more speed, it's brighter because it's getting a whole lot more juice. Juice is a way a lot of people describe electricity that used to make my dad cringe. But when it has more juice, that light's brighter. So, for example, if you had a DC system and you put a DCC card in that locomotive, and you could select, hey, I want to turn the front light on, and it would just be at full illumination. You would not get that dimming, brightening effect. It would just be full blast from the get-go. So that's another thing I think people like. But I really don't see any. There were no it was well packaged. There were no scuff marks on the top. Again, that's an issue I had with 2 Pico purchases. LGB, I think this package did a little bit better. Locomotive, everything's running and working just fine right out of the box. I'm very, very, very happy with that. Looks sharp. Graphics are nice and crisp. I've wanted one of these little LGB locomotives for quite a while now. I think it's just a rite of passage in G-scale. At some point, you even when you already have probably 100 different cars like I do, and there's a whole bunch back there and more in another shelf. But at some point, I think just an LGB starter set is what you want, and I don't know, maybe this circular track will be going around the Christmas tree come December. I'm not sure yet, but this is a fun little passenger train that I think I'm really going to enjoy having on the layout, and I'm really looking forward to reviewing that baggage car that goes with this train, and we'll get to that soon on the channel, I promise. And I'm going to leave this on for a couple hours while I get some work done, but it'll be instantaneous for you, don't worry, and I'll come back with some final thoughts. All right, this guy has been running for about a straight hour and a half. No problems. No overheating, no funny smells, no drama, no sparks. I really wasn't expecting anything like that to happen at all. And one thing I will say, also, if you're kind of new to G-Scale, a lot of times, and this has just been my experience, and maybe some of the more experienced model railroaders can comment on this below, but when they first come out of the box, the locomotives, and I think this is number 6 for me, but when they first come out of the box, it's number 7 actually. Sometimes they have some squeaks and just little noises and stuff, and the more you run them, the more that seems to go away. That's been my experience, and I feel like depending on what you bought, maybe it was sitting on a shelf for a long time, and once all that motor gets turning and moves all the grease around and all that stuff, it just kind of all those little squeaks and stuff go away. That's just been my experience. Bad cat. So that's been kind of my anecdotal experience. Like any machine, eventually these will need repairs or service or something like that. That's any machine, and you do have to take care of them, but not too often, thankfully. Every once in a while, parts will wear out, stuff like that, especially when you're running tighter curves like this. This is about the tightest curve you can make in G-Scale. And the tighter the curve, the more wear you're putting on the wheels and stuff like that. So just something to be aware of. I try to run 10 and 8 foot curves as much as possible. But also just in the motor and stuff, they do require a little service. There are some videos on YouTube on how to do that. I am no expert. I've had my oldest engine's my Pico starter set. That probably has the most hours on it. I would venture to guess, and that one really hasn't needed anything. So I'm not. I haven't come to that point yet, but at some point it will need a little, a replacement something, and that's just part of the hobby, and you have to be okay with that. I am not really too handy as far as working on these for a variety of reasons, including vision, even though they're huge. The USA Trains brand, and you can see those dark blue with the red bottom boxes over there. Their Ultimate series, which is really, really nice. They use a proprietary coupler. They don't use the hook and loop couplers we talked about earlier. And they have what's called a knuckle coupler. It's much more prototypical of what you might see on a real railroad. And it's they have there's a hook and loop option, and you can put that on, or you can install a knuckle coupler on locomotives, so you can pull cars like those. And I've actually just kind of struggled with that. I'm sure it's really simple to do for some people. There's the guys that like the super realistic layouts, they use something called a KD coupler, and most brands have a mounting system for that. But just something as simple as putting USA Knuckle Trains couplers on one of my diesels, I've had a real hard time with, and the instructions are not clear. So I mean, but if you go to a train show or to a certain extent here on YouTube, although there's not as much G-Skill content as I would like, that's why I started making some of it. But everybody in this hobby is very, very friendly and very, very happy to help. And installing the DCC decoders, like we talked about earlier, that can be a little tricky, although it's gotten a bit easier over the years. I understand the new Bachmann-9s they've made it about as simple as they can make it to do that. But, not everybody's inclined to mess around with the electronics. I certainly understand that. There are companies that you can send your locomotive off to, and they'll service them, and they'll do installations and modifications and whatever you might want. One of those is called Trainli, Trainli, and they have a YouTube channel you can check out. They're based out of Reno, Nevada, I believe, but they have a pretty good rep for working specifically on LGB and G-Scale. And sometimes your local hobby shop will have a guy that knows how to work on these things, but that's kind of going by the wayside. It seems like there's not so many technicians available in a hobby shop to do this kind of work. So a lot of guys either have to figure it out themselves, or you have to send it off somewhere. So my kitty cat is very accustomed to seeing trains all the time now, so they're not... He'll lay down next to it, take a nap or whatever, but he's not as excited about it as he used to be. I did post a video that had some of the first days I had a train set up and how crazy he went. So if you have a cat, just FYI, they're going to most likely be either terrified of it or very, very, very interested. So... You know your cat, you know how they can be, but that's one of the hazards. And I feel really bad, like for the M scale guy. So many cats jump up on layouts and go after the locomotive, thinking it's a rodent of some kind. It's because of its size. So at least we don't have to worry about that here with G scale.